hold up, I am on my way. I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 6 all-new beach DIYs for your home using supplies from the Dollar Tree. So let's get started. I love decorating coastal and definitely year-round. So for the first one, we're going to be using a Dollar Tree frame. It really could be any of the 8x10. You could even do larger if you could get a larger frame, but probably not from Dollar Tree. That's probably about the biggest that you're going to be able to find. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the back, the glass, all that kind of stuff. I just want the wooden frame. And it's really pretty nice quality from the Dollar Tree. This is one of my favorite frames to grab right now in their stores. Whenever I see them, I try to pick them up. They have it in the 8x10 and the 5x7. What I want to do is make this look like a palm frond. So I need a stem for my palm frond, and I'm going to use some of the wired jute from Dollar Tree because I needed something a little stronger than what we're going to be using to make the palm frond. So I go ahead and use my wire cutters to cut that. You have to be a little careful with their wired jute because the jute really wants to kind of slip off the wire, especially if you're working with it. So I'm just going to hot glue the ends down to kind of keep the wire in there, keep everything in place. And I just cut enough to go from one end to the next. And then for the palm fronds, we're actually just going to be using one of these little grass skirts from the Dollar Tree. I love using these for summer, but you can even reuse them for a fall. So I'm going to go ahead and untie it because I want it to be long, and because I want to wrap the stem of the palm frond because I don't really want you to be able to see the jute twine. I do like it that it's there. It makes the wire thicker, but I want it to kind of blend in with the palm frond more and not be like a woody looking stem with this like light color leaf. So I want it to look like a palm frond like coming down throughout the frame and one that you can kind of see through as no back on the frame. So I just tied it to the end of the wire jute and I am just simply wrapping it around. I did 2 pieces at once to try to cover a little bit more territory, sort of overlapping. I'm going to be wrapping it again to get the palm fronds, and you might want to wrap it a little bit better than I did because I did have to patch up a few places that you could see some of the twine coming out there after I add the palm frond. So I wanted to go from the side to the bottom and like an inch or so from the corner. And I'm just going to attach this with hot glue on that ledge on the inside of the frame. So I have the frame laying there upside down. So I have the little ledge where the glass sits in the frame. And because I don't want anything that's really going to stick out of the back of it too much. And so I just kind of nestled that down inside and hot glue it on and let that dry to set up in place. Now, for the palm fronds, I had this idea, and the first thing I thought of was these grass skirts from the Dollar Tree. I love crafting with these. I made a really cool fall wreath recently here on my channel, and they're just really fun to craft with. It's a great way to get lots of raffia. So making sure it's flat, I just wind it around the stem like that, having it come down like a palm frond, right? And so I hot glue that in place and pull it down, also facing down, hot glue it on that side. Now it's only kept in place by being wrapped around that stem. So that part's really important. I wrap around and then under, and then I'm going to sit my next one here, hot gluing that down, pulling it taut, and then hot gluing it. And I hot glue it before I cut it to make sure I don't cut it too short. It makes it a little bit easier. And I'm going to repeat this all the way up until it looks like all the palm fronds like coming down from a palm tree. This worked really well. I had envisioned this in my mind and I had to try it. I think it would look really cute if you did like a set of them. You could have like 2 of them like opposite directions, the palm fronds going opposite directions, but it was really fun to make. Now, when I was first starting, I could use kind of the smaller pieces or pieces cut in half. But once I get going up here, I'm going to start needing longer and longer pieces because I'm filling up more of the frame. But it was really simple to do, and I was glad that I didn't really have to glue it in place. It allowed it to be a little bit more flexible there on the stem. I just wind it around, kind of making sure that the grass skirt was flat so it will look like that palm leaf. And this was really fun to put together. I originally made this to make it a hanging sign, but then I really liked the fact that you could see through it. And so I actually ended up making this into a standing sign. I was wondering what it would look like too if you were to do this with the green grass skirt from the Dollar Tree. So then it would look like a palm frond that was alive, where this kind of looks like an older palm frond that has turned yellow, which was what I was kind of going for with this one. Now I'm just kind of following my stem, using that as the guide, and then just coming down with the palm frond, gluing it in place. And my hot glue gun releases a lot of hot glue. You might do better with a hot glue gun that maybe is a little bit finer detail, because I was struggling not to use too much hot glue, but that ledge there worked perfectly to glue it to. It didn't take much to glue these down. They're very lightweight. Now, when I'm getting to the end of the stem, I have to be a little bit creative. So I go ahead and glue that one in place, and then I just wrap around the next one because I'm done on the right side and I just need to fill in the left side. Maybe one more piece right here to finish out the palm frond. And everything seems pretty secure. I thought I would do a bead of hot glue on the back of the stem though, where you wouldn't be able to see it, just to make sure that nothing falls down. And this is what it looks like so far. This was my original idea, just to leave it like this, but you know, I have brown walls in my house and it kind of just blended in too much, and so I decided to add a little bit of color to mine. Now this is what I was talking about. You could still see some of the twine even after I was done wrapping all of the raffia around. So what I'm doing is I just started at the bottom and I'm just going up and kind of rewrapping the areas there where you could see some of the twine peeking out from behind the grass skirt. And I wish that I would have probably wrapped it a little bit better the first time. Then I wouldn't have to do this, because this was a little tricky trying to snake this through. It is a little bit delicate being made out of this like lightweight raffia, but I don't have to do it all the way. Just here where I'm noticing that you could see a little bit of that jute, I wanted all of that to be covered. But that seemed to work pretty well. So I'm just going to finish off this last one here, and I can kind of just stop right here. So I just use a little hot glue and tear off the grass skirt. This is our palm frond so far. I told you at first I was going to make it a hanging sign, so that's what I'm doing here. I just use a hanger I have left over from a Dollar Tree sign. And a little trick, I use some hot glue to center it in place so that when I'm screwing it in, I keep it exactly where I want it. But I think it turned out really cute, but I wanted more color. So I found one of these mesh laundry bags at the Dollar Tree the other day, and I was thrilled to see that they're making these in colors. Check out this beautiful blue color. I thought this could look like the beautiful like blue sky behind the palm tree. And so I'm just going to cut this laundry bag and make it like a big sheet of mesh. I like to use these kind of bags sometimes for like fish netting and stuff like that with coastal crafting. But I like the idea of using this behind it because it will also be see-through like the openings in the palm frond. And so I just cut the bottom and then cut the side with the seam until I have a giant sheet of this mesh. And then I am going to attach it to the back of it like this. I used a marker to kind of sketch out a little bit wider so I would know how to cut it. It was a little tricky to cut, kind of like almost like a deco mesh. But I'm just going to cut inside that line and try to get it as close as I can. I want to be able to hide this all behind the frame like I did everything else for this. So just cutting it down to size. I think somebody must have used these scissors for something else because normally they're way sharper. They were struggling on that one. And then I'm just going to lay it across the back like this. And if you have the same thing where if you're using like the wood frame like this with the grass skirt and it's just too neutral, you could put anything behind it. You could even do fabric behind it. But again, I wanted something see-through. I really liked that kind of effect on this. So I'm just going to attach that mesh with some hot glue. I start right here at the bottom, trying to make sure that I don't go over the sides of the frame. I want everything to be hidden back here. And then I'm going to go ahead and do one side. You can cut it a little bit shorter than you need it to be. I did have to trim mine a little bit here and there because I want to pull it kind of taut when I hot glue it. So it kind of gets rid of any of the wrinkles, no extra fabric like hanging out there on the back. And then finally we're going to finish here with the top. And it did add a little bit of blue color behind the palm frond, which I thought was really cool. And I like it like this. I like it kind of against white. I don't really have any white in my house. But I thought I would make it into a standing sign and I could use it like on one of my cabinets in my coastal decor. So I just went ahead and removed the hanger. And I'm just going to use some of this craft wood from the Dollar Tree. This is like I think the 10-inch chunky slat. It is the perfect size without even cutting to go on the bottom of an 8x10 frame. Just need to get the adhesive off of there. That is the glue away. It's like the adhesive remover they have at Dollar Tree right now. It works pretty good. It's kind of like Goo Gone. And then I'm going to try to match the wood grain that's going on in the frame. So I start with this color. I think this is called Beachcombers by Apple Barrel. And I'm just going to go ahead and give it a light stain just by using a thin coat of paint and then rubbing it like with a baby wipe so I still get that like wood grain. And then I'm going to go back and distress with some Antique Wax by Waverly, using a paper towel to kind of smooth that out. And look, we're pretty close to making that match the frame. I think we're close enough. So I distress the front and the back as well. And the ends are a little raw the way that they're cut, being real wood. So I just kind of distress them slightly with it to kind of make it blend in. And now it's just a matter of putting it all together. The frame is not super heavy, so I think hot glue is going to be fine for this. I just use a nice healthy row of hot glue there and stand it up on the base. Now, letting it dry at this stage is really important because you want this to be strong. You could always use a little structure here in the back if you needed to. I decided to use more hot glue in the back where you wouldn't be able to see it, and it seems to be strong enough without anything else back there to kind of hold it up. And I really love how this turned out. I hope you guys like it. It is a little palm frond, kind of in front of a bluish sky. I'm glad I added the background. I was a little iffy on whether I should do it, but I think it added another fun texture element to it. So this is my little palm frond idea. I like to come up with really original ideas for you guys for your coastal decor to give you some fun crafting ideas. Hey guys, are you enjoying today's video? If you are, be sure to hit that like button. It always helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Okay, the next beach DIY, we're going to make a coastal candle. I love candles. This is one of the Dollar Tree long candles. I picked it up in this color because it reminded me of the ocean, a nice beachy blue color. When you remove the adhesive, it does leave some stickiness on there. So I'm just going to clean everything up so I have a clean surface to work with that glue away, and kind of wipe all of that off too so it's not super oily. And what I wanted to do was kind of wrap this in some like burlaps and netting and make it look really coastal and fun. So I'm going to use one of the burlap rolls from the Dollar Tree. It's a brand new roll, so I just kind of cut it to kind of give me a raw edge there. And I want to cover most of it. It's kind of a skinny burlap roll, but I'm going to kind of piece it together here. I want to cover the top of the candle. I don't really like that it was a little bit darker blue up there. So I'm going to kind of mask that with the burlap. You will be able to see some of the blue candle when I'm done, but I just cut it down to size where I can cover it and then do a second row of burlap like this, so that I have a cool background to add a Dollar Tree starfish. So just a bead of hot glue here on my burlap. And I want to overlap it slightly, but I do want my burlap to be cut straight. So I'm just going to kind of cut that with the grain so I have a nice straight line, and kind of overlap that slightly, just attaching this with hot glue. I'm like a half an inch under the lid, nothing that's going to be flammable there. And then I'm going to do my second row. I'm going to do it right next to it. These do have seams on the side, which makes them look a little bit cleaner. You could cut that off and go with a more rugged look if you'd like, but I kind of like the clean look. And then for the seam, I'm going to fill that in with some of their burlap trim. It's just about the right size to cover this up and kind of make it look more on purpose, or maybe like it's a bigger piece of burlap with some more trim right here in the middle. So I'm just going to hot glue that all the way around, trying to make it look a little bit more seamless there. And that seemed to work pretty well. And you can still see the blue there on the bottom of the candle. Now to the front of it, I want to attach one of the Dollar Tree starfish. These are from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. I get a case of these every year. I love them. I craft with them year round. And I'm just going to attach that with a dot of hot glue. They are made out of plastic. They're really easy to craft with. And then for the netting effect, I'm going to use some of this mesh ribbon from the Dollar Tree in white to have a nice contrast against that burlap. This reminds me of fishing net, so I use it a lot for that. I'm going to attach it with hot glue right where I started the burlap and wrap it around. I have plenty of room to work with because the starfish is only like attached like right there in the middle. But I just want it to look like it is draped in fish netting too. It's just going to give it another coastal touch besides the starfish, the color, and the burlap. So I just go around to the back where I started and cut and hot glue it there. Really easy to do, a little coastal candle DIY. And these candles last a long time as well. I love making things with these, but I also love decorating them as is. So this is how it turned out, our little coastal candle Dollar Tree DIY. I think it's really sweet, and I'm sure I can find somewhere perfect for this. Right now I have all my coastal decor up because I don't have any of my fall up yet. So I'm really enjoying looking at all of my coastal stuff. And this is what it looks like lit up. Super easy to do. Okay, for the next DIY, I'm going to be using one of their burlap canvases, one of their wood frames from Dollar Tree, and one of their little sand dollar wood bead charms they had this year with the Shore Living line. You could use the other sand dollar if you have that instead. For the frame, I'm going to be using the 5x7 wood frame, and we're going to cover it with Dollar Tree sand to make it look super beachy. I had this idea to try to paint the burlap canvas and have a sand frame. I think this is going to look really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and pop everything out. I need the back and the frame, but I don't need the glass. And I'm going to kind of prop it up using those staples that were already on it as little legs for the frame. And I'm going to go all over the surface of the frame with just school glue. This is the time to get them school glue. You can get it really cheap, like at Target with the back to school sales. I always stock up every year because I use it a lot for crafting, especially with sand. So I coat it really good. I don't want the glue necessarily to be on the inside edge of the frame. So I clean that up before I attach the sand. And I did put like a cutting board down, one of those Dollar Tree cutting boards down underneath this, because working with sand can be very messy, so be prepared for that. But I sprinkle that tan sand from the Dollar Tree all over to get a good coating, and I've never made a sand frame before, and I absolutely love how it turned out. It's so beachy and fun. Now I wanted some spray glue, and I found this one at the Dollar Tree. It's not my favorite one. It worked at first, and then it immediately clogged, which is why I don't really like this kind of spray glue. I usually like the aerosol ones a little bit more, but I sprinkle some more sand on that trying to fill in any areas. This is the one that I really like, but I haven't been able to find this at Dollar Tree lately. But I did have a tiny bit left in a can, so I was able to get a little bit of that on there. And I needed more, so I have some Elmer's glue in a spray, and that worked better because at least it didn't get clogged. But since I haven't been able to find that spray glue at Dollar Tree, I did just order some Gorilla Glue spray glue on Amazon. So hopefully I'll like that because I have not been able to find that aerosol spray glue at the Dollar Tree for months and months. So I just want to make sure everything's secure. I get it as wet as I can get it to glue that all down and then set that aside to let that dry. And now we can start working on the canvas that's going to go inside. They have these burlap canvases in 5x7 and 8x10. So this is the 5x7 size. And I'm going to try paint rolling it. So this is the paint roller kit from the Dollar Tree. You get a lot of stuff in there for $1.25. You get gloves, a paintbrush, a tray, and a little roller. And I'm going to use this color, which is Cloudless by Apple Barrel. I get this on Amazon. It's in my Amazon shop. And I am just going to use the roller to paint it. The reason I thought the roller would be best is because I could get even coverage, but not so thick. I don't want to fill up the holes of the burlap. I still want that burlap texture. So I just go over it both ways with one coat of the blue paint, and that's going to be a really fun blue burlap background for that sand dollar charm. I picked up so many of these charms this year. I ordered a whole case online, and then I also got some in the stores when they had these with the Shore Living line at the end of spring, beginning of summer, and I love them. This one was a little dirty, but I was able to clean it up. But I'm going to actually fill the hole from where the wood bead garland was attached with just some Dollar Tree spackle. It does take a couple attempts to kind of mask that for real. And it looks pretty good, this original white color, but I felt you could kind of see the spackle a little bit when I got it dry. So we're going to distress it all over with just some bright white. So just some white acrylic. I'm just using like a little stencil dauber just to give me a very kind of random distressing all over. Not really doing like the little slots or anything like that, but I don't want it to get like here in the flower of the sand dollar at all. So I'm going to go ahead and just distress it a little bit. It's going to make it pop against that blue burlap background. And I think that's the first time I've painted the burlap like that. The whole thing, I really liked how it turned out. So I use quite a bit of hot glue on the back because this is made out of like a resin material that's a little bit heavy. Feels kind of like a ceramic. And I just hot glue that to the frame, kind of pushing down on the burlap from inside the canvas to make sure that it is glued down well. And I think that's going to work. So let's check on our sand frame. I set it aside to help it dry, trying to see what is stuck and what isn't stuck. I did a pretty good job. I don't really want any on the outside of the frame as well. One reason I used the wood frame is because it's about the same color as the sand. So if there are any areas where the sand does fall off in this process, it's not going to be super obvious, but it did do a pretty good job. The trick to sand is gluing it from the bottom and from the top for sure. So carefully, I'm going to try to turn that over without losing my sand. And then we can go about attaching this. It fits in there just perfectly. I didn't take the staples out. You could. They didn't really get in my way, so I just did a bead of hot glue all along that inside ledge of the frame and placed my burlap right inside. I want mine to be a standing sign, so I saved the back, and I'm just going to attach it to the canvas with some hot glue so I have a quick, easy stand where I can stand this DIY up. This was really fun to make, a little messy with the sand, but I think the blue painted burlap makes a really fun background combined with the sand, lots of color, and it really shows off that sand dollar and makes it look like a work of art. Now, if you wanted to, you could also put some shells in your sand. The only problem is you really have to glue those deep down in there to the wood frame itself, but I just wanted beachy sand and I kind of like how it turned out. Hey guys, have you joined my private Facebook group? I have it linked in the description of this video. You can find out when I post new content and you can see what everybody else has been making. You guys are so talented. And I also have a Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. My handle on everything is Crafty Beach on YouTube, and I would love to see you over there. Okay, our next DIY is going to be a beach kind of floral using some of this pampas grass from the Dollar Tree and one of the Shore Living bottles. These are the little message in the bottles. I picked up a bunch of these from the Shore Living line this year because I loved the colors, the ombre effect of that blue color at the bottom. And I'm going to use it as a vase instead. I thought that would be really easy to do, but you could use about any glass skinny vase like this from the Dollar Tree and kind of get the same effect. I'm going to fill it up with some Dollar Tree sand. I wanted tan sand, but I was running a little low. So what I'm going to do is mix my tan sand with the white sand, which I can find kind of readily at my Dollar Tree right now. It seems to be like one or the other. And that way it's going to give me just like a light tan sand. So this is how much tan sand I had. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that all in there with the white sand I already put in there. And I want it to be kind of light anyway, so it doesn't really distract from that blue color. And then it's just a game of putting the cork back on there and shaking the sand until it's all mixed and looks consistent without like white parts. And it actually turned out pretty cool. It just gave you a really light color of sand. So I was happy with that, and there's plenty in there to use for the vase for the pampas grass. And I want to fill up the little beachy area with seashells. Now, I usually got those Dollar Tree shells that come in the little glass bottles, but I haven't been able to find those recently. I know a lot of you guys have said that too. So I was able to find this large jar of them. On Amazon, you get 1,200 shells plus some starfish too for $12 with free shipping. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. So I filled it up where the beach is completely covered in shells and starfish. And then I wanted to add a little texture. I probably should have done this before I added the shells and sand, but I wanted to kind of transition between the clear part of the bottle and the blue part just to add more texture down there. So I'm just using that Dollar Tree burlap roll, and I'm simply going to glue just a little sleeve on there where you can still see the sand and the shells above it. And then underneath of it, you're going to see the blue with like the sand behind it, just to give it a little bit more interest down there. And now for the pampas grass, I'm going to use 2 of these. And they're kind of like the straw color. I stand one in front of the other one, so you really can't see that there's 2. But then it makes it nice and full. You only see one stem. And I think it looks really beachy. It's not the traditional like onion grass like that you see people use for like the dune grasses and stuff like that. But I think it still looks really beachy. I like the color. And I love these little jars. I'm glad I stocked up on these from the Dollar Tree because I think they're really versatile, especially to use for a vase like this. And this is how this one turned out. Okay, for the next DIY, I picked up 2 pairs of flip-flops from the Dollar Tree. These are beachy and cool, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to paint them. I wanted to do a fun, like, flip-flop wall hanging, but something for outdoors. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut the plastic straps off these that were already on there. This one's kind of dirty. I wonder if somebody tried this on in the store. I really love that starfish pattern, and I almost kept them like that, but I ended up kind of going a different direction with them. So I want to go ahead and remove the strap from 3 of them. I want to do 3 flip-flops all on top of each other, each one going a different direction like that, and do a hanging that you could use for like a door hanging or you could use for a wall hanging. I'm making this one for outdoors, but you could totally use it inside. It turned out really cute. I've seen a lot of people make like wreaths with these, but I wanted to see if I could do something a little bit different. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and paint it. I'm using this color. It's called a cool blue. I thought this was kind of a little bit darker than the blue I usually use for beachy, but I intended to paint this white first to cover up all of that white writing, and I kind of forgot until I already had the blue on there. So I'm going to have to go ahead and go back in there with some white because as you can see, it's going to take quite a few coats to cover that. But I found if you go over white writing and like the white ropes with white, it's going to cover that up so much easier. So for this second coat, I just do a coat of white to kind of wipe all of that out. Give me a blank canvas to start from. I found that using the end to a tiny paintbrush worked really well from getting the paint that kind of drips down in the holes there on the flip-flop. And now we're going to go back in with that cool blue color. And this isn't quite the same color. They were like navy before. So I'm going to go ahead and make them this color. I do want to make the whole thing look this color. So I will go in and paint the sides as well. As you can see, the paint kind of dripped over the sides anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and clean that up, make them look like they were blue flip-flops. And I don't think I've ever painted Dollar Tree flip-flops before. They actually painted really nice. You can still see the texture of the flip-flop and everything like that. And I kind of wanted to make it look like wood, to make it look like a wood wall hanging, but we're actually going to be using real flip-flops. So at this point, I was trying to decide if I was going to leave the starfish on there because I do really like the starfish, or how I was going to decorate them. I do end up painting those as well. And I also considered using these two to decorate, just to make them not so plain with some of these glass stickers from the Dollar Tree. They're like little seashells and stuff like that. I wasn't sure because I didn't really want to take away from the texture of the flip-flop, but I was considering using them for a minute. They are not real permanent. You can move them around, and I end up not using them, but they were easy enough to remove. So for these flip-flops, what I did was I forgot to turn the camera on, and I painted them. So basically, I did the same thing, but I used white, and then for the blue color, I used Caribbean Blue by Delta. It's a really nice beachy blue color. It's a little bit darker than the Cloudless. And I went over the tops of both of them. And then I'm also going to paint the sides of them as well to make them match. But it's pretty close to the original color of these flip-flops anyway. And as you can see, they painted really nice as well. And we're going to be making a sign with this. So I wanted the colors to be kind of alternating. That's when I decided, yeah, I'm probably not going to need these. I think I just want them to look like wood flip-flops, kind of make them look like distressed wood if I could. The Caribbean Blue already kind of looks distressed, so I don't really have to do anything with that one. I'm doing that light blue over the white. But this one is a little too solid, so I'm going to distress it with a dry brush technique with just some white acrylic. And go back with a baby wipe, kind of blend that around, make it look evenly distressed, kind of give it that same vibe that the light blue ones have. And I think these are going to be great to make a sign with. This was a really fun project to make. So just making sure they're all dry. And then I'm going to measure how big of lettering I can do. I decided about 1 inch by 4 inch. I can make a word for each one of my flip-flops. And I know a lot of you guys are scared of using your Cricut or scared of using Cricut Design Space. So I kind of wanted to take you through the process. It's really not that hard. Over on the left side, I go to shapes and I choose a rectangle because I kind of want to do a background so I know exactly what size to make it. I wanted it to be 4 inches wide, so I changed the size to 4 inches wide by 1 inch high. But you know what? I didn't hit the unlock up there above it. You have to do that to be able to change dimensions. So I want it to be 4 inches by 1 inches. You can even choose the color so you can envision what you're doing. You can zoom in, make it look a little bit bigger, but it's still the 1 inch by 4 inch. You can copy and paste. So I want to do 3 different flip-flops. So I want to do 3 backgrounds and I want my words to be about that big. I just inserted some text. I'm just going to use the Cricut Sans font that comes up by default. It's a nice, simple font and nothing that you have to pay for. And I just type in the word beach. Then you can kind of stretch it to resize it. Copy and paste it to keep the same font, same color, and do your next word and copy and paste for the next one. And then you can just change what you type. So I want these flip-flops to say beach vibes only. I want them to be as big as I can get them though, so I do kind of stretch them, resize them, make sure I can fill up the whole box. Then I delete all the rectangles because I don't want to cut that out on vinyl. And then I click make. You can save it or not save it, it's up to you. I'm using my Cricut Joy Extra, so I'm going to use it with the matless. So that is my favorite. You don't have to deal with a mat, no cleaning mats or anything like that. I'd like to move mine around a little bit so I have a little bit of room to be able to cut around the words just by stretching them. And now it's time to cut. For materials, I'm going to use some smart vinyl. I had some, but I'll show you a trick here if you don't have any. All you have to do is kind of push those inner rings there out towards the side, and you can put any kind of heavy duty vinyl in there if you cut it down to the proper size. So I think it's like 9.5 inches wide. I've done that before, but I did have some Cricut Smart Vinyl in white, and so I just used that to cut that out. So not too hard. Don't be afraid of it. I know some of you guys have told me that you've never even taken it out of the box, but I want to encourage you to use it if you have one because they are great machines. My newest Cricut is the Joy Extra, and it does like the matless cutting like that, and that is my favorite. I use it way more than I use my Explorer Air 2 now. So I went ahead and cut the vinyl into the 4 different squares, the 4 different words, and then I am just going to weed it. I have one of these Cricut bright pads. I know Dollar Tree Plus has a version of these that you can use as well, because especially when I am weeding white, I have trouble seeing with my old eyes. So if I find it helpful to put it on a light when I weed it, but this font was pretty easy, a pretty easy font to weed. Everything stayed down pretty well. Now, this is my favorite paper transfer paper. I get this on Amazon. I have it linked in my Amazon shop. I swear by it. It's so great. You can even reuse it. And I am going to just scrape my vinyl to make sure it is down. If it's not down, you can kind of push your sheet back down to make sure that it adheres. And I went ahead and did a transfer paper for each one of my flip-flops, so we can make it spell out beach vibes only. This is a permanent vinyl, so I think it will work well for outside without really needing to do much to it. And this is kind of how I wanted my setup to be, and I want the words to be like on the heels because we're going to make straps for the flip-flops, and that would kind of block the words. So I just go ahead and scrape them and peel off the transfer paper. It doesn't, like, these are freshly painted. It doesn't mess with my paint at all. Like some of the really sticky transfer papers. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Cricut transfer paper at all, but I love the paper one. So there we are, beach vibes only, really easy. And now for the flip-flop straps. I'm going to use the Walmart jute rope. It is wider than the Dollar Tree jute, any of the Dollar Tree jute that I have found. And I thought it would be nice and thick for a flip-flop strap. You could also use Dollar Tree rope, but it might be a little too thick when you get to the little hole there between your toes. So I cut 3 pieces that would be long enough for one piece would be long enough for 2 straps on the flip-flop, if that makes sense. Now it is a little bit crazy, this jute. I trim off any like pieces that are sticking out, and I like to use a ruler to kind of burn off any fuzzies. And if you're going to clean up the jute, now is the time to do it before you attach it to your flip-flop. Now to attach it, I'm just going to string it through the flip-flop right here like it was before. I can go behind it, tie a knot, and that's going to secure it. And this is just a perfect diameter jute for these. I string it through the other side and knot it as well. Now I have a loop here at the end that I can just put the entire loop down inside the flip-flop to pull it tight to make easy little flip-flop straps, and they look oh so coastal being made out of ropes. So I kind of pull them out, arrange them what would look good like a flip-flop. I cut the loop at the end so I have 2 pieces that I can kind of tie together, and because I didn't really have enough room to loop that into a knot, but I could double tie that into a knot to make that really good and secure. So there's our first flip-flop. I think it's looking really cute. I'm glad I decided to do solid colors on these because I think just the colors, the words, the twine really gives it that beach vibe that I was going for. And they really turned out looking very classy. So I'm going to go ahead and put both my straps through this one. Just knotting on the bottom of my flip-flop. And then I have that same loop again that I just pinch and kind of force into that hole. It's not too hard to get through there because the rope's not super thick. And pull it out about the right place I want it, and then I can tie it off here on the back. I'm also going to use this twine to make the hanger that is going to hang the entire thing. And I've always wanted to craft with flip-flops. I never have on my channel. Can you believe that? So I'm glad I decided to attempt a project. I really think it turned out so cute. I really love it. So our last flip-flop, all I have to do is kind of adjust it, make it sure it sits properly, and then tie this one off as well. It's really coming together, a little beach vibes only, like flip-flop sign. And it looks so, so coastal. So I'm going to flip them upside down. Make sure they are all about even. And then I can string them with that jute twine. I cut one long piece that can act as the hanger and attach them all together. And I was trying to decide if I needed to use like a more permanent glue or hot glue. I found that twine and like rope seems to hot glue really well, even outside. So I'm going to go ahead and use some hot glue. I think it's just going to be easier. But again, I had to clean up the rope by kind of trimming it, burning it, making sure it looks good. And I'm going to kind of string it like this. So I'm going to go inside or outside, the bottom straps there. And then going inside about an inch below, like the little thing that goes between your toes there. I'm going to glue that one. And I'm just kind of measuring probably about an inch between flip-flops. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And then the same place there, I can loop my hanger and then bring it down the other side. I'm going to glue it in the same places. So I'm going to go like an inch underneath that knot. Go underneath those two knots and then finishing it up here just like I did above. Trimming off the excess so I don't have any other hanging. And you know, they're pretty lightweight, so I think they'll be pretty strong, but I decided to reinforce it with a little bit more hot glue just to make sure. And let me show you how this turned out, our little flip-flop wall hanging. I think it looks so coastal and cute. This would look really cute in a bathroom too if you had like a beach theme or something like that. I decided the final touch would be a seashell. So I'm going to add one here to like the strap of each one. I was trying to decide if I wanted 3 that were all the same or all different. I didn't really want them all the same, but they were just the perfect size. And these are just Dollar Tree seashells. You could always use some treasures that you find from the beach. And I'm just going to hot glue one to each one of my flip-flops. And since I didn't do any kind of like decor on them, I think this really added a little extra special touch. So there it is, our little beach vibes only flip-flops. Those, make sure you get the same size, of course, if you want to recreate this project. But it really doesn't matter which flip-flops you find. You could even use the kids one if you could get them without the back straps. That might interfere if you want to do a sign. But I chose like the size small, which is like the size 5-6. You could always make the larger ones too. You would just get a larger sign. Okay, for the next beach DIY, we're going to take one of these Dollar Tree wood plaques and make it into a fun coastal display. I had this idea where I wanted to do a dolphin at sunset. So I'll show you how I put this together. I went ahead and removed the hanger. I like the color of it, but I want it to be just a little bit warmer. So to do that, I'm going to mix some Antique Wax by Waverly with some water to make a very thin stain. I just want to change it oh so subtly because this is going to be the background for my dolphin. And these signs are a little bit sealed anyway, but Antique Wax by Waverly does a pretty good job of, you know, coloring it a little bit, but I didn't want it to be too dark, not too warm. So I put that all over and use a paper towel to kind of dry that off. I just wanted to tone it down slightly, and that worked well. Now, I designed this great free printable for you guys that I'm going to include in the description of this video, but I also wanted to show you how to use the print and cut feature on your Cricut because I know a lot of you guys have no idea that it's even there. So you click New Project. I'm going to share a PNG file of this dolphin with you, and then you click Upload and you're going to upload the image. So I'm going to take you through the steps because it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to go upload and then browse and select the image that I shared with you. You can hit continue. I've already removed the background so you can kind of skip this step in your process. So I'm just going to click apply and continue. And then what you want to choose is a flat graphic. Hit upload and it's going to bring it into your canvas of your design space. Now it's bigger than what will cut on my Cricut Joy Extra. I want it to be as big as I possibly can get it. You can kind of size it, but see how I have the image too large? It also has this auto resize image where it will make it as large as you can make it. Now, when I click make it wants to know if I save it. You can save it with a name, you don't have to. Then you get the print and cut feature. So basically, it sends this to your printer and it's going to put some reference marks on there for your cutting machine. So I'm going to send it to my printer, make sure I have the right printer. I printed mine out on cardstock. So while that's printing, I'm going to go ahead and set this up. Cardstock is going to be my material for my Cricut. It's just a value cardstock. I think that's going to be fine to cut it out. And then I have it printed out. I put it on a light grip mat. You automatically feed it into the Joy Extra, and I am going to have it cut it. What it does, it goes in and it reads those little black corners that print it out on the image. That's why you have to print through the Cricut design space. And then once it reads that, it will just cut it out. It's going to cut it out perfectly. So it's ready to unload. I have my image here cut out. You could always cut it out yourself, but I wanted to show you the print and cut feature because I know a lot of you guys have asked me if your Cricuts will do it, and even the Cricut Joy Extra will do it. So I'm just peeling off the cardstock. I have a perfectly dolphin size. I thought it'd be really fun to do a dolphin jumping at sunset on a dolphin. I had this image in my head and I wanted to try to see if I could create this. Now, the next challenge is I'm going to need to cut it into slats because the sign is slatted. I think that's going to make it look really cool. So I'm trying to figure out, it fits exactly on this Dollar Tree sign, and I'm going to have to cut it before I glue it. That way I don't tear anything. So I'm just going to use a razor blade and I just lay it right where I want it. Use that groove in the Dollar Tree sign to cut that. My razor blade was not super sharp, so I did have to kind of touch it up with my scissors to make sure that I didn't have any tearing or anything like that visible. For this second section of my dolphin, I am going to have to cut off like the mouth of the dolphin and the tail. And the reason I'm cutting them like this is because that groove in between the slats is rather big. So even if I were to cut it after I would have attached it, I don't think it would have looked very good because I want that line to kind of continue between the boards. So this is a little tricky cutting this small piece off here, but I was able to cut it enough where I was able to cut it down to size. You don't want it to go over, so you might need to trim it a little bit to make sure it doesn't go over the line. And then I have the tail piece left. I'm going to go ahead and line that up where it's going to be. So I'll know exactly how to cut like the little fluke tail off down here. That way I can attach it in multiple pieces. So basically we have puzzle pieces now. So I had to do that cutting. So I wanted to use the print and cut if I could. It would make it easier to cut the dolphin out, right? I use a coat of Mod Podge. I do the entire board, not just where I'm gluing. That way, it's just going to give me a matte finish. We're going to go further and distress it and seal it to make sure that this kind of becomes part of the sign. And I just do one wood slat at a time, making sure this one is cut down to size perfectly before I put the glue on there. But just another coat of Mod Podge. Definitely want to get it thick enough where I'm putting the cardstock to be able to glue that down. And one reason I love to Mod Podge with cardstock instead of paper is it dries quickly. You don't have to worry about bubbling that you do with like a thinner sheet of paper. So for this section, I have like the mouth of the dolphin and this tail part. And I love this watercolor image I designed. I think it's so pretty. And then for the tail piece, I do the entire board with Mod Podge and then just attach the little fluke to the dolphin tail. I don't do a lot of dolphin crafting, but I love dolphins, so maybe I should do a little bit more. I hope the print and cut tutorial was helpful. I tried to go fast on it so I wouldn't bore people that knew how to do it. So if you need it a little bit slower, you can always slow-mo my video down to 50% or something like that and see exactly the steps that I was doing, but it was pretty easy to do. Now that I have it all down and dry, I can go over it with more Mod Podge. And it's pretty easy. You don't have to wait a long time for the cardstock to dry either. I do want to use a paper towel because I did get like some Mod Podge down in the grooves between the boards. I didn't want that to glue white or anything like that, so I did try to dry that up. And I want to seal it enough where there's no chance that that paper is coming up and, you know, that it's sealed down really well. Then I'm going to go over everything and distress it. So I'm just using some ivory paint, acrylic paint, and a dry brush, and I'm just distressing all the boards because I want them to look really coastal. So I'm not just distressing the boards, I'm also distressing the dolphin painting to really make it look really cohesive and like it is part of the sign. Now, the distressing is totally optional. It's just whether that's your vibe or not. I love distressing for Coastal Farmhouse. This is the original hanger. I just used the knot in the front. I had cut off one of the knots to be able to get it off and strung it through and just re-knotted it there on the front. And we have a fun dolphin at sunset dolphin sign. I think it's really fun. Definitely take advantage of that print and cut feature if you do have a Cricut. It can be really helpful and save you a lot of cutting, especially with like shapes like this. And look at that clean cut that I got. It looks really professional as well. But I really love the little dolphin at sunset. That's when I usually see dolphins here, is at sunset in the Indian River Lagoon. Okay, you've made it to the final reveal for all 6 of these new Beach Dollar Tree DIYs. Be sure to leave a comment below this video and let me know which one was your favorite. I always love hearing from you, and it also helps my videos as well if you leave comments. Okay, so up next is the final reveal. Enjoy!
Better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. If we just hold on tight, this vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. Ooh, we are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got, and when we're trying
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's YouTube video. I also want to give a huge thank you to my Crafty Beach Mom members for supporting my channel. Thanks so much to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Wunner, Janae Farrington, Julie Miller, Pamelia Wren, Maria Grace, Donna Schreiner, Sandy C., Live Another Day, Tracy Wooldridge, Marin Christensen, Debbie Middleton, Vicki Connors, Adrian Brolt, Deborah Caldwell, and Red Mama. If you would like early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, all you have to do is hit the join button. It is $4.99 a month. You're free to cancel anytime, and you're going to get early ad-free access to my videos and, of course, a shout out in every video. Now, would you like more crafting DIYs? Be sure to check out this video right here. And until next time, happy crafting!